I'm a disaster right now. I wouldn't even consider myself a human being, really. All right, so what do you want to talk about here?
Don't know.
You want to talk tech?
It's kind of up in the air, right? No, whatever. You got any news? It's been a while since I heard breaking news.
I know.
I got no news. I've been busy.
Breggs has enough. I mean, what am I doing? Well, I don't know, Bill. You want to talk about the Kinect and any new tech or anything that you got going on? I know we talked about it before, but we can like piggyback off of what you wrote on the site and everything.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, Chris, I was talking to Mike about the Kinect and how everyone's really starting to use it now, and we're talking about this glitch, this I don't know if you want to call it a defect in the algorithm that does the body tracking, and we were talking about what's actually involved in the way this thing really works. Talking about different ways that light can be either interfered with or manipulated or interacted with. Things like a reflection and some of the stuff you're probably pretty familiar with. Reflection and refraction, different wavelength interferences, light absorption, or diffraction. And these all, of course, are necessary for the Kinect's infrared light to be able to see something. And no one's really given it a lot of thought that in order for something to show on the Kinect, it would have to have some sort of mass to it, which is, of course, 180 degrees from what most people believe. So, on one hand, they're saying they captured something paranormal, and the other hand, they're saying that the paranormal is some form of energy, which obviously can't manipulate the light that's being projected and received through the Kinect. So it's kind of a catch-22 that we were discussing. And I was explaining that I just did a side-by-side. I had the first generation Kinect and the second generation Kinect side-by-side on the same computer running at the same time. And I was able to record this glitch, I'll call it a glitch, on the Kinect first generation, and the second generation Kinect, that is, it has 3 times the fidelity. It's all nothing either time. And of course, I was running screen capture software at the same time, so I was able to show that the first one's going to see things that the second one's not seeing, which I track back to the algorithm. And I can't get into all of it right now, but I wrote a blog on the warehouse about the Kinect and how it's designed to work, and the databases that are built into this thing, and how it takes real-world scenarios and tries to make sense of what it sees in comparison to what's in its database. And it tries to interpret what it's seeing through a database instead of what's truly there. So sometimes it gets confused. I was talking to Mike, it may see, a coat hanging on a coat rack, and it's not going to know that it's a coat, but it's going to say, well, kind of shaped like a torso, so let me throw a skeleton on there and wait for the movement, and then I'll track it further. But of course it never moves, so the track just stays there. And that's what we're seeing. So I've been doing a lot of reading and research into the technology behind this thing, and it's way above my pay grade, but the nuts and bolts of it. The engineering and the science involved is just crazy. And it's just, people just get it, they learn how to use it, and everything's paranormal.
Right. Well, everything's paranormal.
I feel like
right.
That's a lot of things.
But it's really, it's got potential. It does. I just don't use the algorithm. I was explaining to Mike, I just turned the body tracking off, and I use strictly the depth sensor and the infrared cameras. That way it eliminates that algorithm out of the equation. If something's going to show up, it's going to show up on that depth camera as well. So if I eliminate that possibility, it can't happen.
So, I don't even know because I haven't even like looked into stuff with the Kinect. What do people think is happening? Like you're talking about the mass and like it bouncing off. Are they just going off the thought of if it tracks something, something's there? Like what do they even think it's picking up?
They think that it's picking up something paranormal without even giving it a thought. Because it's tracking on something and they can't see anything, so it's got to be something paranormal. That's not necessarily. I'm not saying it's impossible. But when I have two Kinects running at the same time and one's seeing it and one's not, that's telling me it's a software issue.
Yeah, you got a problem. So like, there's no theory out there of that it's picking up anything. It just is.
Right. It's. Like you said earlier, you have to understand what it was designed for a gaming system, so it's looking for bodies to lock onto. It's looking for figures that are shaped like people.
Yeah, it's to immerse you into the game, and obviously people is what it's looking for. And like you said, the database must be just looking for shapes of people all the time. Like that's got to be its number one feature. Right. That's kind of frustrating, but it's cool that the new tech at least isn't picking up these glitches.
Right. Well, the new one, it's leaps and bounds better than the last. You saw a video of it. It's crazy. As far as the fidelity and the resolution, it's much, much better. There's no confusion as to what it's seeing now. It's so clear. It definitely can see in detail. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, even when you see like what it's like seeing, I guess it's completely different. Yeah. Like the first one is all colors and mishmash. The other one is actually like it looks like a model of you.
It's a 3D map of the environment, yeah. And what's really cool is if you put your mouse on this screen while it's recording or while it's playing, and you left mouse click and hold it, since it's a 3D mapping program, you can actually scroll left, right, up, and down, and it's in a 3D environment. You can look at it from different perspectives. Even though the camera's looking straight on, it can map the room.
Oh, no way.
And it enables you to manipulate the room in a 3D environment. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Totally.
I think the one... go ahead, Chris.
Have you ever used it while also having a laser grid set up, like where you might see something on the Kinect, but you can't see anything abnormal on the laser grid or anything like that?
I never did. We've had infrared cameras set up at the same time, and whenever one of these anomalous skeletal figures would lock, there was nothing on the infrared cameras. In fact, there was nothing on the depth camera. It was just the skeletal track. And that's what raised the flag for me is not only is it showing up on the tracking program, but it's not seeing it on the depth program. So I knew there was some kind of difference there. And then also I started seeing it in strange places like my living room, or my kitchen, or just you see this thing and it's like, yeah, there's got to be something to this.
So they use these things on the shows all the time. They gotta know that this is glitch stuff going on.
I usually don't call people out by name, but I will this time. And that's just Bill Chappelle.
Yeah.
He's the one on Ghost Adventures. He's the engineer.
Yep.
And every time something happens on here, he's saying, I don't have any idea, I don't have an explanation. He's full of shit. He knows exactly what's going on. I mean, he's no dummy.
Yeah,
he's out to make a buck.
Like a physicist or something? Something ridiculous?
No, he's I know he's into some kind of, I know he's a computer programmer, I know he is an electronics engineer, and I think he's an audio engineer, too. He's no dummy. He knows exactly. I'm sure he does, but like I said, he's trying to make a living, and he's going to say what he's got to say to do that,
Sure.
But yeah, it's just amazing to me that someone will just sit there, and he's not lying. He's just not telling the full truth. He's not volunteering any information.
Yeah.
But But when, you see Zach bent over and it looks like this thing's reaching up and grabbing around him and they're saying, what is this? And he says, I don't have an explanation. Yeah, he does. But if he does that, then he's not, he's going to lose his sales on his website. So he's not going to tell what's really going on.
Sure.
I mean, face it, track it. It all goes back to the money,
Yeah, that's with everything else.
Sure.
What was I going to say?
In typical fashion, everyone sees this and they run with it. They say, "Oh, look what these guys are doing," and you guys know how it goes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if it's on the show, and this has to go away, where if it's on the show, it's just like, oh, this is fact. This is how you use it, and it's just, this is an entertainment television. It's not.
I don't think it's
not educational, really.
No, it's not going to go away. No. It's a lot more fun to just go with it, and Tim and I had a discussion about this, that we're in it for different reasons. There are groups of us that are in it for different reasons.
Sure.
And I think a vast majority of people are just in it for the fun, for the thrill. They don't have a real interest in how things work or what's even possible versus what's not possible. They don't really care. They're just in for the fun,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
I guess.
But don't pass it off to me as fact,
Yeah, and then, a lot of people are in it for the thrill, and if you try to ruin that thrill by telling them what it is, it's like aggression. You're an idiot.
I'm taking my toys and going home. Yep.
Yeah, and it's excuse me. And they'll really tear you down for it, and it's like we're trying to bring down the party, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're the party crashers, right?
Party crashers, especially Breggs. Look at that face.
Always.
Crashing parties all day. So
I don't mind people have a good time with it. That's fine, but
sure, I find it exciting too.
Sure it is. But no, like I said, we got to find a way to divide those different reasons and somehow find a way to keep them separated. But that'll never happen.
It'll never happen, and it sucks because I bet there are people that get into it and they're like, all right, I want to do this, and the majority of information out there is from this thrill-seeking kind of group, and then they're screwed, and then they're roped into it too. So I don't know. That's how we all got into it.
Oh, totally. Right?
I ate that stuff up. I still watch Ghost Adventures.
But then one day, yeah. Oh, so I do too. It's entertaining. I like to watch that. Yeah. I mean, I laugh at it more than
Sure. Yeah, everyone has their comments.
but it's fun to watch.
I guess what a good question would be, for both of you guys, what was the moment where you realized this isn't totally right? The stuff that you're seeing is I don't know about this, and you kind of go off on your own way and learn about this stuff on your own.
Hey, Chris.
I mean, for me, it just knowing the TV aspect of things. So knowing
sure,
that
you have that perspective.
Yeah, so I think that more so that's the reason for me to go off and realize that maybe this isn't all fact. So yeah, but I guess just knowing the TV side of things and knowing how they can fabricate very easily. That's all I got.
Well, for me, it's a couple things, but the biggest thing I can remember offhand was this whole orb phenomenon thing.
Sure.
You see it on TV and you think, oh wow, and then all of a sudden I saw one in a photograph that I took, and I thought, well, that's really bizarre. I mean, we're not at a cemetery or anything. We're here at the house, and I got a freaking orb in my picture, in my photograph, and then, you start playing, you start shaking bushes, and all that kind of crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, you start, getting these ideas of, wait a minute, maybe, at least not all of the time, what's being labeled as an orb is more often than not probably just particulates. And then, of course, then I thought, well, then you get into a conversation with someone that's argumentative about it. So then you say, okay, fine, I'll do a couple experiments for you, and I'll show you, and that just went from there. And then once you figure out, okay, if that can't be right, what else isn't right?
Yep, it's like snowball.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the same thing, how can you build a tool or a piece of equipment to detect the paranormal if you don't even know what the hell it is in the first place?
Well, there you go. Yeah, I think me going back was with orbs too, because it's the same thing with you, where people, they know that you're into this, and they're like, oh, look at this picture, and then you're like, no, this can't be every time, and it's
right.
Yeah, and then you start going into it, and you're like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. It's like kind of disheartening, but at least like what's going on. I feel like people get so upset and they'd rather not know, which is weird to me.
Right. No, I'm in a position. I don't care if anyone tries anything new. I don't care if you take a stick outside and start shaking it around.
Yeah.
But when someone comes to you with something that says, okay, here's why this can't work the way you're saying that it's working, and they show you, and from that point you say, okay, lesson learned, and move on. But they don't do that. They just keep on going, with the same nonsense, and it makes no sense.
It really doesn't, and it's really frustrating how you do get people that are like, oh, thank you for telling me, but like most times it's, you don't know what you're talking about, and like, I want to believe what I want to believe, and that's it. I don't get that.
Belief's a powerful thing.
Belief is a powerful thing.
No doubt.
I guess. What was the last thing? I was going to ask, like, did you guys ever capture anything that, like, tech-wise, that you think was paranormal? Like, I've captured EVP, like, all that audio stuff. Some of the stuff really blows my mind. Like, I would say that, I don't know if you agree, Breggs, because we've been doing it together. Like, mostly just the EVP is really what I can't explain. And it happens a bunch of times. Like, we've gotten a bunch of EVP. It's not like it doesn't, it's like pretty readily happening all the time. So, but with other tech, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's been capturing anything, to be honest.
Right. I mean, I think whenever we capture anything else, like even when we use the Ovilus at the prison in Jersey and all that stuff, like I take it with a grain of salt. So, like, I get excited if something comes through, but at the same time, like, half of me is just like, that could have been just the Ovilus being the Ovilus and like random stuff coming out or whatever else. I mean, it's encouraging when whatever is being said is relevant to the location or the history. But at the same time, I think I still take it, and especially doing Spirit Box, like, everybody said, you're not supposed to get the radio frequencies coming through, but it happens. I think it's happened every time we've used it. Yeah.
Every time.
So even that, like, things that come out, yeah, we might get excited, but I think at the same time you have to take it with a grain of salt every time and be like, okay, well, this could be this, and this, possibly. But yeah, so for the most part, the EVPs are the one thing that you can't really say, well, it could be this. Like, yeah, it could be somebody else talking or whatever, but at the time who was talking, like that time in Eastern State, like I stopped and asked everybody what they said if they were talking, because I heard it at the time.
Yeah.
And then listening back to it, you could definitely tell that it was none of us doing anything, saying anything. So I agree with you. The EVP is really the only thing that readily happens where you could take it more so than using the Ovilus or the Spirit Box and fully say that it was paranormal.
Yeah. What you drinking there?
A little green tea.
Well, good for you. Antioxidants.
Try.
I have 3 video clips that I can't say for sure that they are paranormal, because I don't know. I just don't know, but I can't disprove them anyway through any ideas I may have. The one you saw, the walker in the church.
Totally.
That one, I have no freaking. I can't begin to explain what the hell would even cause something like that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And we also did an investigation at a private residence. In the basement, we had an IR camera set up, and we captured what we call it was a shadow figure. It's an IR camera with no one in the basement. There's no windows in the basement, and you could see a shadow kind of pop out around a corner of the one wall and duck back in. And it's one of the craziest things. And there again, I have no explanation as to what it is. I don't know what we tried to recreate this. We opened the attic steps, the door at the top of the steps. We got light down. We tried everything we could to reproduce this. We couldn't even begin to replicate what we saw. So that one there was another one. And then we also had in an attic one time we caught a very faint shadow moving, but audio, man, we got all kind of crazy audio. There again, who knows where it comes from? I mean,
who knows what it's picking up? What the microphone can really pick up? Like what that range is? Who knows?
Well, through that experiment that David Rountree did back in the early '70s, are you familiar with that experiment he did with the bell jar? I did talk to you about it before, I'm sure.
Yeah, I read. I think he wrote about it in his book too.
Yeah, so you know at least part of the time that it has to be some type of, it's electromagnetic in nature, at least some of the time. And other times you can actually hear it. I mean, there's been times when I can actually hear it.
Yeah, I've never heard it live like that. I would love to, but that's outrageous.
Well, it's kind of weird because every time that I've ever heard it, I'm always distracted with something else at the same time, and then a couple seconds later I go, wait a minute. You know, and then I'll mark my audio. And I'll tell the guys, I just heard something, you know, and they're all looking at me like I'm crazy. And you rewind it, and sure enough, there it is. But every now and then I'll catch it, but it's always when I'm not listening for it that I hear it, which is kind of weird. But
yeah, now like, do you find that you are the one that always hears it? Do other people hear it in real time also?
Sometimes we all hear the same thing at the same time, but usually when it's different. Like I said, whenever I hear something when I'm not listening for it, that seems to be when I'm the only one that hears it. I don't know why. And there's dozens of times this happened, and it's all been documented. It's just weird. I don't know. I don't know if my hearing's just a lot better than theirs. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, maybe your ears are a little bit different for whatever reason.
Right.
Maybe you're an X-Men.
Right. Yeah, I doubt that. But no, I mean, what would you consider, irrefutable evidence? I mean, what you can have the best audio and the best video documentation that you could ever even imagine. So good, people would think it's fake when they look at it, even though you know it's real.
Sure.
What would it take, to say this is 100% paranormal? There's no way you could argue against it. I mean, what would it take?
I have no idea. Well, you're always going to have someone say no. I mean, I guess it would have to be like, I just go to like a ghost on camera, like quote unquote. Like give a thumbs up, and the ghost just gives you a thumbs up. Who knows? I feel like it's got to be visual for people to believe it.
But
I think the masses.
I think that question you're asking about, what are the things that you think are paranormal is kind of a relevant question, because each person's perspective of what they think is paranormal, my standards for something might be a little higher because, I'm going to look into it a lot more deeper than, say, the person down the street may. So what I'm considering maybe true paranormal is completely different from their perspective, so that's kind of a...
Totally.
That's a relevant question, that's going to vary with the individual, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to get into it, like EVPs or whatever, like paranormal, it's really just something that we don't understand how it works. Like, it's not, like, what does paranormal even really mean? It's just this anomaly that we don't, like, quite understand yet. It's not like magic,
Right. Yeah, I think there again, back to David Roundtree, he had a good quote one time. He said, "Nothing's paranormal. It's just normal. We just don't understand it yet."
Yeah, exactly. Like people thought fire was magical at one point. You know what I mean? Or like the sun and all that stuff. It's just we're just not there yet.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're nowhere near. But that's an interesting question, though. You ask 100 people that, you're gonna get 100 different answers. You know, it's
sure.
Some people are gonna say that more than pictures I have. You know, it's.
Yep. And what are you gonna do?
It's all about our perspective.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. You guys want to wrap it up? I feel bad, Bill. I've had you on for like an hour now.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, we were waiting on Breggs for a while. That's okay. Poor guy's running behind.
Traffic.
I get it. I get it.
Yo, this guy's winning a game. Oh, did you guys win? Did I ask you this already?
Yeah, we won. Yeah, we won.
What was the score?
I think they only scored 3. I think we scored close to 20-something. So it was a little bit of a blowout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that one.
Yeah.
Is that like on PlayStation or
a little recreational softball, very casual.
Yeah. Do you guys wear high socks?
No.
All right.
We got some color to you. It looks like the sun's been out there, huh?
Just today, it's been shitty the past couple of days. My mom and my sister came to visit, and it was like 60 degrees and cloudy and rainy.
Wow,
But
that's
today
just like back home.
80 and sunny. Yeah. So.
That's probably what it is here today. Probably 80, 85, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's toasty outside. Yeah, Mike's got a sweaty ponytail and his hair is slicked back. He's all nasty. You can see it in the video.
I am disgusting. I was in Breggs, Robin's air conditioning shut down, so we had to drive from Virginia all the way in just like a hot box with the dog. It was. I'm a disaster right now. I wouldn't even consider myself a human being, really.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God. Well, all right. Phil, as always, thank you for taking time out. You're the man.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, man.
Breggs, you keep on being Breggs.
I'll try.
All right.
Yeah, it was good seeing you, Chris.
All right, you too.
Yep.
Talk to you guys. All right.
All right, we'll talk later.
We'll see you guys.